I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that the life you're living is the exact result of the choices you've been making every day for the past 5 years. The habits you repeated, the excuses you accepted, the opportunities you ignored, and the effort you decided to give when nobody was watching. Now ask yourself a simple question. If nothing changes, where will those same choices take you 5 years from now? Most people think their future will somehow be different. They hope things will improve. They wait for motivation to arrive. They wait for the perfect opportunity, the perfect mood, the perfect moment. But life rarely changes because of a single dramatic event. More often it changes because of small decisions made consistently over time. Think about a seed planted in the ground. For weeks, sometimes months, nothing seems to happen. If you looked at the soil every day, you might believe the seed isn't growing at all. But beneath the surface, roots are forming, strength is developing, the process is invisible before it becomes visible. Human growth works the same way. Many people quit because they don't see immediate results. They study for a few days and stop. They start exercising and quit after a week. They learn a new skill and give up when progress feels slow. What they don't realize is that every meaningful achievement begins with a period where nothing seems to be happening. The person who succeeds is often not the most talented. They are simply the one who stayed committed long enough to see the results. There is a story about a young student who struggled in school. His grades were average, and he constantly compared himself to classmates who seemed smarter and more confident. Every test result felt like proof that he wasn't good enough. Eventually, he started believing that success belonged to other people. He thought some people were simply born with abilities he didn't have. One day, a teacher noticed his frustration and asked him a question. The teacher said, "What if your problem isn't that you're incapable? What if your problem is that you've already decided who you are?" That question stayed with him. He realized he wasn't failing because he lacked potential. He was failing because he had accepted a story about himself. He had convinced himself that he wasn't intelligent enough, talented enough, or capable enough. And once you believe a story long enough, you start acting in ways that make it come true. From that day forward, he stopped focusing on proving himself and started focusing on improving himself. He studied a little longer, he asked more questions, he stopped being embarrassed by mistakes. Months later, his grades improved. Years later, he built a successful career. Not because he suddenly became a different person, but because he stopped limiting himself with an old belief. Many of us are carrying stories that no longer serve us. Maybe you tell yourself you're not disciplined. Maybe you think you're too late to start. Maybe you believe that people from your background can't achieve certain things. Maybe you've failed so many times that you've started expecting failure. But your past experiences are not instructions for your future. They are lessons, not life sentences. Every successful person you admire has faced moments of doubt. They have experienced rejection, setbacks, and uncertainty. The difference is not that they avoided failure. The difference is that they refused to let failure define them. Imagine learning to ride a bicycle. Falling isn't evidence that you can't ride. Falling is part of learning how to ride. Yet when it comes to our goals, many people treat mistakes as proof they should stop trying. They fail once and conclude they're not capable. They face criticism and decide they're not talented. They encounter difficulty and assume they're on the wrong path. Growth doesn't work that way. Every skill you have today was once something you couldn't do. Every expert was once a beginner. Every confident person was once uncertain. Every achievement started with someone who didn't know exactly how they would succeed but decided to keep moving forward anyway. Education plays a powerful role in this journey, and education is much more than what happens inside a classroom. Education is the process of expanding your understanding of the world and yourself. Every book you read, every conversation you have, every lesson you learn from experience becomes part of who you are. The world is changing faster than ever before. Information is available everywhere. Knowledge is no longer limited to a few people. This means that your willingness to learn can become one of your greatest advantages. You don't need to know everything today. You don't need to have every answer. You just need to stay curious enough to keep learning. Some people spend years waiting until they feel ready, but readiness is often created through action, not before it. The confidence you're looking for usually comes after you've started, not before. Think about all the things that seemed difficult when you first tried them. Reading, writing, speaking in front of others, solving problems, learning technology. At one point, each of these felt uncomfortable. But repetition transformed difficulty into familiarity. The same principle applies to your dreams. The path toward any meaningful goal will include moments when you feel tired, discouraged, and uncertain. There will be days when progress feels invisible. There will be moments when others don't understand your vision. There will be times when you question whether your effort is worth it. During those moments, remember something important. Discipline is not about feeling motivated every day. Discipline is about doing what matters even when motivation is absent. Motivation is powerful, but it comes and goes. Discipline remains. A student who studies only when inspired will struggle. A student who studies consistently, even on difficult days, builds a foundation for success. The same is true for athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, and anyone pursuing a goal. Small actions repeated consistently create extraordinary results. Reading 10 pages a day may not seem impressive. Learning one new concept each day may not seem significant. Practicing a skill for 30 minutes daily may not feel life-changing. But over months and years, these small actions compound into remarkable growth. Success is often hidden inside ordinary routines. People see the achievement and assume it happens suddenly. They don't see the countless mornings, the repeated effort, the quiet sacrifices, and the persistence that happen behind the scenes. The truth is that most successful people spend a long time looking unsuccessful before anyone notices their progress. That's why patience matters. Patience doesn't mean waiting passively. It means continuing to work while trusting the process. It means understanding that meaningful results often take time. Your future is being shaped by what you do today, not what you plan to do someday. Someday is a dangerous word because it creates the illusion that there will always be more time. But the days become weeks, the weeks become months, and the months become years. The best time to begin improving your life is not when conditions become perfect. It's now. Not because you're guaranteed success, not because the journey will be easy, but because every day you delay is a day you could have been growing. Imagine meeting the version of yourself that exists 10 years from now. Imagine that person looking back at this moment. What advice would they give you? They would probably tell you to start sooner, to worry less about being perfect, to spend less time comparing yourself to others, to trust your ability to learn and adapt. Most importantly, they would remind you that your future is not determined by where you begin, it is determined by whether you continue. You don't need extraordinary talent to move forward. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You need a reason strong enough to keep going when things become difficult. The road ahead may not be easy. There will be obstacles. There will be setbacks. There will be moments when progress feels frustratingly slow. But every challenge you overcome becomes evidence of your strength. Every lesson you learn becomes part of your wisdom. Every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to the person you're capable of becoming. So if you've been doubting yourself, remember that growth is often invisible before it becomes obvious. If you've been waiting for the perfect moment, understand that action creates opportunity. If you've been discouraged by failure, recognize that failure is often a teacher disguised as a setback. Your story is still being written. The next chapter has not been decided. The future is not something that happens to you. It is something you help create through your choices, your habits, your learning, and your persistence. Years from now, you'll look back on this period of your life. The question is whether you'll remember it as the time you kept waiting or the time you finally began. Believe in your ability to grow, invest in your education, build discipline through small daily actions, stay patient when results are slow, and keep moving forward even when the path isn't perfectly clear. Because the person you want to become is not waiting at the finish line. That person is being built one choice at a time, starting today.